You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Working towards the weekend. Appreciate you spending some time with us here on this Thursday afternoon. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Luke Johnson, 15 minutes from right now, talking Saints. You've had some coaching staff turnover since last time we spoke with Luke when he was in the Senior Bowl and wouldn't give us the information that we so desperately wanted about the future of the Saints offensive staff, but we have it now, so we'll talk to Luke about that in 15 minutes. We spoke to him every week during the baseball season last year. We're going to do it again this year. We're cranking up a week early. Joe Healey from D1 Baseball, part of the SEC Extra team, is going to join us in 30 minutes. They're currently, right now, he and Mark Etheridge, previewing every team in the SEC for about 20 minutes on their Highway to Hoover podcast. I've been knocking all of those out as they become available. LSU's is already out, incidentally. Came out on Monday. If you want to check that out, you can. But we'll hear from Joe in 30 minutes. Nick Saban is going on to GameDay. What do we think about that? Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday, kind of a national signing day. Also, state of the program type deal. We'll get that sound at 2 o'clock. Chris Blair was in Knoxville last night calling the LSU basketball game against the Vols. He's with us at 2:15. So lots and lots and lots and lots to get to over the next 2 hours. Lock us in if you would. Last night, LSU goes to Knoxville, and they get beat by 20. 88-68 was the final. I could very simply sit here and tell you how it was scrappy for them to come back from down 13-0 and cut it to 7 pretty quickly. I could tell you it was super scrappy of them to get down 27 points and cut it all the way to 9, all the way down to 8 with 4 minutes and 39 seconds to go. I could do that, and that would probably be the local angle that plays the best. I don't want to do that. I don't have any interest in doing that. I don't have to do that with the baseball program. I don't have to do that with the football program. Last year with the basketball program, it was a necessity. We're in the middle of February with a team that was put together to compete, and they got dusted last night. Period. It's not unexpected. It's not unacceptable. It's not a sign the program is in ruins. It just sucks. Tennessee's really good, and LSU is not very good when they don't have Jalen Cook and Jordan Wright, their next most productive offensive player, has a really poor night, and that's what happened. Jalen Cook did not play last night. Jordan Wright was 3 of 16 from the floor, 1 of 7 from three-point range, and when those two things happen, LSU's not going to be very good on offense. There have been times where they've been really good on offense. Fantastic on offense against Arkansas. Really good on offense at Texas A&M. Very good on offense against Alabama throughout that entire game when you scored 88 points. They were bad on offense last night because, 1, you didn't have your 2 best players playing to their best capability, and 2, Tennessee is very, very good. You know the story. It was 13-0 after 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Then LSU's offense got going a little bit, and you got it to 6. And then Tennessee put their foot down, and they ballooned it to 20 with 4 minutes and 13 seconds to go in the half. In the first half, Tennessee was an offensive freight train against LSU. They shot 58% from the floor. They were 9 of 14 from 3. That is 64%. They made 5 of their 6 free throws. And with all those prodigious shooting numbers, they only turned the ball over twice. This is an LSU team that we think of and statistically would suggest is a really, really solid defensive team, but we've seen this now enough times. Alabama, up and down the floor, scored over 100 on you. Tennessee, up and down the floor, scored 88 on you. When you play a team that's really, really good on offense, LSU's defense looks pretty pedestrian. It's not like Jalen Cook is like Patrick Beverly and you missed out on an all-league type defender. Jalen Cook is an opportunistic defender, but he's not a lockdown player that was going to put a clamps on Zakai Ziegler, put the clamps on Santiago Vescovi. That wasn't going to happen. And so I'm being honest. Like, I don't like having the conversation. Man, they tried hard last night. Good job fighting back, guys. Not there. It just bums me out that I have to sit there and go, yeah, Tennessee's Final Four good, and LSU's probably bottom half of the league, and that's the way it played out. And I hope I don't have to continue to have that conversation for 2 more weeks as Alabama comes up and at South Carolina and at Florida come up and Kentucky comes to the PMAC. Like, I hope I don't have to have that conversation every time. But quite frankly, this is a game that I looked at in December and said, well, they're not going to win that one. At Tennessee, at Alabama, at Auburn, games I'm just looking at like, well, I could sit here and break it down. I could give you all kinds of stats and trends. I could go over highlight level plays and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter just remains, they're really good. LSU's not really good. And that's the way it played out. I would prefer not to look at the fact that you scrap back after a terrible start or that you strap back in it after you were down 26. I'd prefer to just look at it and go, you know what? They need to up the level that this program plays at. Individually, as I mentioned, no Cook, no Wright, that hurts you. And what did I ask for yesterday in talking about this team? I said, I'd really like to see if Will Baker can follow up that game against Arkansas, not with a reciprocal 25 points where he's knocking down a bunch of threes, but just a nice offensive showing against a good Tennessee front court. Jonas Aidoo's a very good player. Can Will Baker show up and go for 13, 15, 17 points? And Baker was pretty good. He was pretty good. It was not the flashiest performance you've ever seen, but when the dust settled, he was 7 of 12 from the floor. I'll take that. He misfired on his 2 threes. That's going to happen when you're a 7-footer. He made a couple free throws, grabbed 8 rebounds, and all of a sudden you look up, and after 36 minutes of action, he goes for 16 points and 8 rebounds. LSU can compete with a lot of teams in the SEC if Will Baker goes for 16 points and 8 rebounds. That's kind of the player I hoped he would be. That's a lot of what KJ Williams gave you last year when he was really the only offensive option you had. And so we're still, in my opinion, going to kind of assess this season and this team by what they did against the middle and bottom of the league. That's the way I feel like this is trending. If you're going to look at how they did against the top of the league, it's going to get pretty ugly. But that's pretty expected. How'd you do against Arkansas? How'd you do against Florida? How'd you do against Ole Miss or A&M? And we've got some of those stories. They split with A&M. They beat Ole Miss at home. They've got a game against Arkansas. We'll see what happens when they play Florida. We'll see what happens when they play Missouri, go back to Vanderbilt. And for those discussions, Will Baker's consistent play helps. Jordan Wright's not going to go 3 for 16 very often. When he does, LSU's going to get beat. Because there just aren't a lot of counter punches LSU can throw. Trey Hannibal's not going to hit 4 threes. He's not going to score 28. And Wani Wilkinson is not going to develop an offensive game to take up the slack for Jordan Wright and go get you 26 on one night. Jalen Reed is not a dynamic enough scorer to offset a really poor night from Jordan Wright. And when you found out Cook wasn't playing, it was going to have to be Wright and Baker on the offensive side. Baker gave you what you needed. Wright just didn't. And I'm not piling on Jordan Wright. He's played very well for LSU, and he's had to carry a lot of the load. It's just a reality when he's not very good, they're going to get beat. And Tennessee just comes at you in waves. Connect got his 27, made a couple of threes, took his 19 shots, 7 of 9 from the line. That's the way that usually goes. And after Connect, who's the only guy on their team that averages 11.6 or more, they just spread it out. Aidoo gave him 10. Zakai Ziegler was 17. Jordan Gainey got hot and made 3 threes and had 18 points. That's not a guy they depend on a ton on offense. Jai Jordan James had his 8, and all of a sudden you look up and they've got 88 on the board. It's a Final Four good team. Now, Rick Barnes hasn't proven he can get a Tennessee team to a Final Four yet, but he continues to put a really solid product on the court, and that's what you saw. They were just better than LSU. That's one down of this 5-game stretch. We're asking for 1 win. I shouldn't say we. I don't want to speak for you. I'm asking for 1 win. Can they get 1? I don't know if it's at home against Alabama. Better play a little bit of defense. I don't know if they can split at South Carolina at Florida. I don't know if they can outscore Kentucky in the PMAC.
Alabama's probably going to be very happy after that game last night.
Yeah, long game last night. Was that 55 fouls?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a lot of fouls. Yeah, so they'll come in here and we'll see. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, and you see what you can do to maybe try to get into a shootout with them. It's not an ideal situation, but it's, as I told you, and I'll tell you again tomorrow when we start breaking that game down, Alabama's basketball team this year and Kentucky's basketball team this year are basically built like LSU's football team this past year, where whatever, doesn't matter how you want to play, they're going to get you into shootout because they're not great on defense and they're awesome on offense. Tennessee can do it both ways. That's why they hammered Alabama, and they took it to LSU last night. 20-point margin was the final margin. It was 88-68, the final. Tigers come back, and they will take on the Crimson Tide on Saturday inside the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. Always want you to download that Rouse's app. Makes grocery shopping so easy. If you're headed out for some Mardi Gras festivities this weekend or watching some basketball this weekend, want to get the groceries, go get them at Rouse's. They got tons of locations all over South Louisiana. We frequent the one Burbank and Lee. Tomorrow, instead of T-Bob, will actually be at the new Florida Boulevard location in North Baton Rouge that is so nice and so awesome. I can't wait to spend some time there. If you're looking for something to do tomorrow, get your groceries. I'll be there from 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock. Rouse's on Florida Boulevard, giving away some gift cards, giving away some shirts and hats and cups. It's always a good time. So we're usually Burbank and Lee. Tomorrow we'll be over there on Florida Boulevard. Thanks to Rouse's for bringing you our Thursday shows. Still got plenty to get to here in this first hour. A couple of guests are coming up. We'll talk Saints football with Luke Johnson coming up. And then Joe Healey from D1 Baseball talking some college baseball. It's all coming at you on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, A, video, V, security, S, solutions. AVSS, Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out on Instagram at AVSS_BR. It shows you some of the great installation jobs that they have done at various houses around the Baton Rouge area. Maybe you've got a new outdoor kitchen area or pool area, or you've got one but it doesn't have the sound capabilities that you want. Let AVSS come out and wire your home or your outdoor seating area for some sound. It's about to be baseball season, springtime, great time to get out. It's going to be warm and you can get around the pool. Have that music or the baseball games coming through a newly wired surround sound system. AVSS can make that happen for you. Here's the phone number for the owner, Mitchell Fisher. You call this number, you get him, and he's going to handle your call. It's 225-439-7920. Again, in the 225 area code, 439-7920. Call Mitchell Fisher. Say, hey, I'm looking to get some surround sound done in my home entertainment area beefed up. Mitchell can handle all of that. You can always check him out online as well at avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045espn.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We'll recap LSU, Tennessee, and Pels Clippers on the hardwood, and more of what Brian Kelly had to say wrapping up National Signing Day. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs face Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 58 Sunday. Coverage from Westwood 1 begins at 1 p.m. with a special Super Bowl edition of NFL Preview with kickoff set for 5:30 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline we go. Let's talk some black and gold football with Luke Johnson, who's probably, hopefully, enjoyed some Mardi Gras festivities over the week now that the Senior Bowl's in the rearview mirror. Is that true, sir?
Tonight we're making the first big Mardi Gras splash. We're going out for Muses tonight. Got a babysitter and everything, man. So I'm ready to party.
Wow. Hopefully no news breaks. Doesn't feel like that's imminent. It was imminent when we were talking last week, but you wouldn't spill the beans because you wanted to write it on your own website instead of say it on our airwaves, which is a discussion for another day, I guess. But some shakeups on the Saints from an offensive staff perspective. Surprise to you?
No. Yeah, I think we even talked about it on your show a couple of weeks before that. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling that Marrone was not going to last their new offensive coordinator, just because look, for as well respected as he is around the league, as well liked as he is within the Saints building, the simple fact of the matter is the offensive line did not perform up to their standards the last 2 years while he's been the offensive line coach. And they've had significant problems developing Trevor Penning. And there's a lot of things that pointed to him no longer being a part of the staff. The one that is, I don't know if surprising is the right word, but probably a little bit of a blow to the Saints staff is Ronald Curry not being retained. Obviously they think highly enough of him to interview him for the offensive coordinator position, but once he didn't get that, the writing kind of felt on the wall. Especially some other reports out there from Catherine Terrell over at ESPN reported that they wanted to bring him back on as the receivers coach, and they probably knew that was never going to happen. That would have been a step back in his career, and I think it wouldn't be a surprise to me to see Ronald Curry go and coach an alien and Josh Allen for a year or two and get an offensive coordinator chance himself. So, it's probably a better move for him long term, and it's just it is a blow for the Saints, though.
The Saints have obviously prioritized stability and continuity within the organization, but now it feels like they've completely gutted the Peyton Breeze offensive brain trust here, and they've brought in something that's going to be entirely new. Do you see that as a positive for the franchise?
I do. Look, that offense was spectacular. It did a lot of crazy good things. I don't think this is what happened in the last couple of years is really an indictment necessarily of Pete Carmichael and some of those other offensive coaches. But the fact of the matter is they had a Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame quarterback running the show. You can do a lot of really great things with that combination. I think it's a fool's errand to try to carry that on when the pieces are all different. and you don't have the once in a generation combination of maestros leading the show. So it made a lot of sense to me that when they let go of Pete Carmichael, they cast a pretty wide net, and they looked at guys from trees who have had a lot of success in the NFL. I mean, you just look at last year's offensive numbers. 6 out of the top 12 teams, I think, it's either 6 or 8 out of the top 12 by total offense, were Shanahan, McVay, or their disciples. So I just think that it made a whole lot of sense to get somebody in that's going to bring some new ideas in. Don't worry about like scheme fits and all that. These coaches find a way to maximize the skill and talent that you have on the roster. And nobody was thinking about scheme fits when Houston hired Bobby Slowick away from the 49ers offense. And lo and behold, you bring a guy in who runs some smart offensive plays that take advantage of defensive weaknesses, and guys like Nico Collins are like all pro level players. So I just think that it was a necessity for them to go and reach into that tree and try to find a branch that's successful and sprouts leaves and does all the good things, because I think they have the talent on this roster. They've got to maximize it.
Do you right now, obviously there are some changes to come, but do you right now feel better about the Saints offense entering next season or the Saints defense entering next season?
Man, I feel like we've been waiting on this offense to just like be okay for a while. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think if you inject some new ideas into this, like what I said with the talent they have on the roster, I think they're going to get a lot more out of the offensive line. I think they're too talented not to play better there. I think their skill position players are really good, have potential to be really good. And I think if you have, look, one of the things about these Shanahan McVay offenses is they max out the quarterback. You look at guys who are not elite level players from a physical attribute standpoint, guys like Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, Brock Purdy. I mean, the list goes on. They take these guys, Jared Goff, they take these guys and they make them really good quarterbacks. I think if they could take Derek Carr and elevate his play combined with the weapons they have around him, I think they could be really good offensively. Defensively, I have some questions, specifically on the front. And if they don't get better there, they're going to have some issues. They're going to have to be a team to score some points next year. But I think their offense can be pretty solid. But I feel like I've been saying this for years now, and it hasn't really panned out. So we'll see.
We certainly will see. Will you be watching the Super Bowl with like a working eye with the Shanahan, Kubiak, Brock Purdy situation, or are you just going to kind of take it in as a fan?
I'll watch it from as working eye a standpoint as I can, with like 2 or 3 beers coursing through my system. So we'll see. We'll see how good my notes are, how legible they are the next day. I have pretty good penmanship, but maybe not after like the third heavy IPA. I don't know. We'll see. It might be a situation where I have to rewatch it just to make things make sense again. But yes, I will be watching it. Look, this is Kyle Shanahan's offense, but there are going to be elements of it when Clint Kubiak brings it over. So I will be paying attention to that for sure.
Who do you like to win the game?
I like the 49ers. I think it's going to be a really good game, a really exciting game. The Chiefs have been playing really well defensively, but there's just like so much like superstar talent on offense in this game. You got 2 of the greatest offensive minds calling the plays. I just think that I think the score I put in for the Picayune was 30-28 Niners. I think the Niners have been the best team in the NFL all season. I think this is Kyle Shanahan's chance to kind of get the playoff monkey off his back, and I really like their chances this weekend.
How quickly do you think the Saints can fill out that staff around Kubiak after the game is over? A week, 2 weeks?
I think it's going to come together within the week. I would not be surprised. I feel like they've already got a handful of guys they know they want to hire. It's just a matter of having the OC hire be official before that really can happen.
I've seen a lot of pictures on the internet of the Johnsons enjoying Mardi Gras festivities over the year. I have full confidence you'll do the same tonight. Have some fun, all right?
Oh, I will, and there will be pictures. You can live vicariously through me, my friend.
I'll be down there Friday night through the weekend, so I'll be there soon enough. Thanks, Luke.
See you, buddy.
Luke Johnson with the Advocate Times-Picayune covering the Saints, and we appreciate him taking a little time. Johnson's Parents' Night Out tonight out there on the parade route for Muses. Look, I think that kind of checks out. I think we kind of understand where the Saints are headed offensively, and I think that there's a good chance Clint Kubiak's got a pretty big hand on who's coming with him or who will join him in New Orleans once this game is over. You can obviously count on the fact that he's preparing for this game as hard as he possibly can, being that it's the top of the sport. But you got to have an eye on next gig as well, and so obviously I think there's a good chance that he's put some feelers out, and I think they'll wrap things up rather quickly. So I'm with Luke on all that. If you missed some of that interview or any of the interviews that we do with Luke, any of the Saints content that we churn out each and every day, you can find it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on Saints. We always appreciate if you subscribe, like, and comment to the pictures. Had a lot of response to the Michael Thomas thoughts that I gave last week that were on the YouTube channel. But if you missed any of our Saints stuff, you can always find it on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. All right, just about time for some Southeastern Conference baseball. We are 8 days away, obviously, with opening day next Friday. The guys at Highway to Hoover, part of the D1 Baseball SEC Extra staff, it's Joe Healey and Mark Etheridge. They've been churning through every single team, doing a preview. We'll talk some big picture SEC baseball with our guy Joe Healey, the first in what'll be, I guess, like 18, 19, 20 weeks straight with Joe on Thursdays. Very much looking forward to it. It's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is #1, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online.
On Friday's OTB, the big weekend of the big game. Give you a final breakdown of the Super Bowl. How did softball fare in their opener? And some champagne shenanigans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show means we're a day away from the Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Means we're 7 days away from us broadcasting just outside the box. That's where we'll be next Friday, noon to 2, talking Tigers before that opener against VMI. 8 days away from opening of college baseball. The guys at SEC Extra, part of the D1 baseball team, are not waiting. They're diving into every single SEC team on the Highway to Hoover podcast. It's Mark Etheridge and our next guest, Joe Healey, back in action for the first time since right after Omaha when the Tigers were crowned national champs. Welcome back to the show, Joe. Thanks.
Hey, Hunt. Good to be back. I can't believe it's time, honestly.
Yeah.
It feels like, I mean, I'm thankful, but it does feel like it was just kind of yesterday you and I were wrapping up the season, and here we are again.
Yeah, we'll see if the Tigers can reclimb the mountain. There's a lot to replace here in Baton Rouge. I guess we can start with the home team here. No Cruz, no Morgan, no Dugas, no Beloso, no Joe Bear. I mean, they're missing 57% basically of their offensive production. How do you feel they'll be able to restock the shelves?
Well, I think you have to feel pretty good. I mean, this is something that Jay Johnson at all of his stops has done a pretty good job of, is replacing production year after year, and he tends to have a good offense wherever he goes, right? So I tend to think that I'm less worried, or not as worried as I might otherwise be, about rebuilding the lineup. If you're looking for a key there, though, I mean, the group of sophomores that, Jared Jones, Brady Neal, Paxton Kling, to me, that's the key group, because those are the guys who, coming in last year, there was a lot of hype about, but ended up not really necessarily being full-time guys for one reason or other. Neal's injuries. But now they're being looked at as guys that could be that next group, and hey, we're going to need you this year, right? So to me, that's the key, is that group of sophomores. I mean, yes, there are other things about it. I mean, obviously Tommy White's going to be Tommy White. Can Hayden Travinsky pick up where he left off last year and do what he did at the end of last year for 56 games? There are some other things in there, but for me, that's the key to the offense there. And look, I would urge your listeners to open your mind to the fact that the team's going to look a little different in 2024. I mean, I think the pitching depth and pitching quality is such that I think it's going to flip a little bit on its head the way LSU wins games versus what we saw last year.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably have to start on the mound. You've seen a lot of Thatcher Hurd. You've seen a lot of Luke Holman, albeit in a different color uniform. But what do you think about those guys potentially being the top of LSU's rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be encouraged by what you saw from Thatcher Hurd late last year. I understand there were bumps on the road. I mean, you and I talked about it plenty during the season last year, but you have to be encouraged with what you saw late. He's got the experience you're looking for, and I think when it comes to Friday night guys in the SEC, yes, stuff is important, all of that, but having that kind of big game experience, I don't really think we can discount that. So I really like him there. And then, look, Luke Holman kind of quietly, with all the injuries Alabama had last year on the mound, was quietly their most important guy on the mound, I felt like. So And, oh, by the way, he's a prospect and has good stuff and all that stuff. So I like him there. The real wild card here is Gage Jump in the third spot, honestly. Yeah. A lot of positivity coming out of Baton Rouge in the fall for how he looked. I haven't just heard it from inside the program. I've heard it from outside observers to the program that, hey, he looks really good. He looks like he's back to the guy that UCLA thought they were getting when they brought him in. But you have to temper that with the fact that, look, this is a guy who's thrown 16 1/3 innings in college baseball and hasn't pitched in a competitive game since April of 2022. So, you're not quite exactly sure what you're going to get from him, especially in February and March. It might be a kind of deal where it takes him a while to knock off almost 2 years worth of rust.
Let's talk about some of the other teams projected toward the top of the Southeastern Conference, kind of big picture. Florida obviously joined LSU in the championship series last year and also loses a lot of offensive production from that team. But big picture, what do you think about the Gators this year?
Yeah, that we have them as the top-ranked SEC team going into this season at D1 baseball, which, the margins are pretty thin, right? I mean, we have Florida, Arkansas, LSU, Vanderbilt, A&M, Tennessee, all kind of right there in the top 10. So, I don't know, jumble those teams up and pick them out in whatever order you like. It's kind of how I feel. But, look, when you talk about Florida, I think there's two things. One is that I don't think it's hyperbole to say if Jack Caglione can throw more quality strikes than what he threw last year, it's not out of the question that he could be the best hitter and the best pitcher in college baseball. The stuff is certainly good enough. And that's crazy. Like, maybe there's a guy in the past that, maybe one of your listeners who's a little more of an old head can remember somebody from back in the day that was a little more dominant as a two-way guy, but we've had good two-way guys, Brendan McKay at Louisville that was one of the best pitchers, one of the best hitters. AJ Reed at Kentucky, about 10 years ago. But I don't know that we've ever had a guy that has the potential to be the best at both aspects of the game. And Cags is right there. And then stop me if you've heard this before, but the talent on the mound for Florida is kind of insane.
Yeah.
To the point where I think we came out of last year thinking, hey, Brandon Neely could be a guy who, he might be their Friday guy, right? I mean, with the way he pitched late last year out of the bullpen and was throwing 2, 3, 4 innings at a time. Well, the competition on the mound in the fall at Florida was such that he's back to the bullpen now, and it's not because they don't believe in him. It's because they're looking at not only Cags, but Cade Fisher, who was really good last year as a freshman, and then Liam Peterson, who, I'm hearing a lot of buzz that it might be the best freshman pitcher in the country with the way he's looked so far. And so you end up moving a guy like Neely back to the bullpen. You end up moving a guy like Ryan Slater, or keeping Neely and Ryan Slater in the bullpen. And then, I was out there for their Fall World Series, and man, it's a staff that I get that stuff isn't everything, but it's basically a prerequisite. You have to touch 95 to pitch on that pitching staff right now. They've got guys that, would be weekend guys at a lot of other places, including some in the SEC, who probably just aren't going to pitch that much. And that's just kind of the cost of doing business when you're in Gainesville.
Alex Lang was LSU's ace 7 years ago, and I thought he threw really hard as a starter, and he threw like 93. And that's just not even a big deal anymore. It's crazy how quickly that has ramped up. I think the average LSU fan would probably not remember that Arkansas won more SEC games than LSU last year, because it felt like LSU was number one the entire season. But Arkansas finished 20-10. LSU was 19-10. LSU just got it done in the postseason, where Arkansas did not. What do you think about Dave Van Horn's chances to get back to Omaha this year?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, I feel great about him, because it's just like with Arkansas, it's like, wake us up in June, Yep. Like, I get that, detractors from Arkansas are going to sit there and yell rings, 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 and I get it. Okay, fine. But there's just no team more consistent right now in the SEC. Like, you can just pencil in 40 some odd wins. They're going to go 18-12, 19-11, 20-10, or something like that in the SEC. And you don't always love the personnel. Like, I look at their lineup this year and I'm like, okay, I mean, there's some nice pieces here. Kendall Diggs is a nice player. Ty Wilmsmeyer, the Mizzou transfer, is a nice player. They've got some transfers that I think will fit in well. Hudson White was Big 12 Freshman of the Year 2 years ago. But there's not an Andrew Benintendi here, just to use kind of one example. So, but I say that, but the next time that Arkansas has a lineup that's not effective will be the first time in my lifetime that I can remember Arkansas not having an effective offense, right? And so you pair that with the fact that they might have the best rotation 1, 2, 3 in the SEC, and that's saying a lot, because we just talked about Florida in this way, and we could also have a similar conversation about Vanderbilt. But you got Hagen Smith, you got Brady Tigert, you got Mason Molina, the Texas Tech transfer. That's a pretty doggone good 1, 2, 3, and they've got some freshmen waiting in the wings who might be in that class of,
Liam Peterson, Ethan McElvain at Vanderbilt, Cam Johnson at LSU in terms of being the best freshman arm in the country?
This question would have been absolutely ridiculous 4 years ago, but are either national championship winning head coach in the state of Mississippi in some trouble later this spring if things don't go great?
I think certainly you have to feel that way about Chris Lemonis.
Yeah.
I mean, there were whether or not it was ever seriously considered, I don't know. But I mean, there were folks asking that question about him even last year. The reality is that a third bad year like that in Starkville is just not going to go over well. It's just not going to be acceptable. And I don't totally know how to assess how they got to where they are right now, because there was a time, like you mentioned, 4 years ago. I mean, not even just a national title at Mississippi State. The previous 4 or 5 years before that, they were pretty consistently getting to Omaha, and that was in the midst of a bunch of chaos. I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago, but, you remember the deal about, having Andy Cannizzaro get fired in the middle of the season. And then they bring in Gary Henderson, the veteran SEC coach at Kentucky, who comes in as an interim, and he gets them to Omaha. And then Chris Lemonis takes over, and there's like zero, they don't skip a beat, right? And I think maybe what we're learning now is that, well, that was a really special group of veterans. You think about Jake Mangum, you think about Elijah McNamee, Ethan Small on the mound, and that stuff is stuff you can't necessarily replicate that easily. You can replicate talent, but sometimes that leadership piece is a lot harder to replicate. So, and frankly, I think a lot of things are going to have to change pretty significantly for Mississippi State to be significantly better than they were last year. I mean, could they be moderately better and maybe win 14, 15 SEC games? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty light lift. I mean, things could break that way, but to be as good as that fan base and that program expects to be, things are going to have to drastically change. And I don't necessarily see drastic change in the cards. Now, with Mike Bianco, I think he's got a track record. Look, I know that fan base was antsy leading up to 2022 before they won the national title, but he's got 20-plus years of track record of Ole Miss being like a host quality team more often than not. So I do think he's just got a lot more goodwill banked to where I'm not really sure what could happen this year that would change people's minds. Now, you could say maybe he just retires, and okay, we could have that debate. But in terms of getting pushed out, I would have a hard time imagining that. But, 2 bad years in a row, and all of a sudden it does start to change the conversation a little bit.
I mean, the conversation, if they were going to go that direction, I'm not suggesting they should have. Like, can you just suggest that maybe they just got hot for 4 weeks? Like that, I mean, they were the last team in the 100%. Field, and they got hot for 4 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, old team, right? Tim Elko, Justin Bench, some guys I'm forgetting, I'm sure, but Kevin Graham. Yeah,
Jacob Gonzalez, yeah.
Yes, old team that just decided, you know what, like, enough of this. Like, we're just going to, get hot and we're going to win games, and, didn't have that same magic last year, even though last year on paper, I mean, it's a little different. Last year going into the season, I was pretty cold on Mississippi State, and that got, borne out. But I was pretty high on Ole Miss, frankly. So that was the one that really kind of caught me by surprise of the two. So, and I'm more bullish on them having a bounce back than I am Mississippi State. Again, I think there's a little bit of a ceiling with them, but I do feel a little bit better about them being more of a regional team, maybe a host team, than I do with Mississippi State for sure.
But last team I would like to touch on here is Texas A&M. Braden Montgomery comes over from Stanford. A lot of rumors around LSU, but it never seemed like he was quite going to head this direction. He ends up in College Station. What does Jim Schlossnagle have on his hands over there?
I went into the preseason, this whole process, when we look up around New Year's and start to actually suss things out. I was cooler on them than others. I mean, obviously I thought they'd be a good team, but I've been getting so much feedback from, scouts and other folks like that, hey, this offense is like elite, perhaps. And, then you take another look at it, and I can see where they're coming from. I mean, Braden Montgomery's, you mentioned him, is about as proven as they get. Jace Laviolette is maybe the first overall pick in the 2025 draft. At least a leader in the clubhouse for that. He's a little bit like Dylan Cruz in terms of true center fielder, good runner, probably a better runner than he gets credit for because everybody looks at the power, but he does have that power. He's got plate discipline. He's also just a really good kid, a good leader. So you get all that, but they've got a guy behind him as a freshman, Gavin Grahovac, who's probably going to start at third base, that I'm hearing a lot of the same things about now that I heard about Laviolette at this time last year. So that gives you an idea. And they do a good job in the transfer portal. Outside of Montgomery, A&M doesn't tend to get the flashiest portal guys. That tends to be LSU. That tends to be Tennessee, Ole Miss to some degree. A&M doesn't necessarily get those guys. They got Montgomery, but what they do have is a really solid shortstop in Ali Camarillo, coming from the West Coast, Ted Burton from Michigan, who's been a really effective player for a long, long time, Hayden Schott from Columbia, who was on a regional team for Columbia a couple of years ago, and is a really nice player. They're a little bit like Arkansas in that they tend to take less volume on the transfer side and tend to do a better job of finding really good fits for their program. The question I have with them is the pitching just wasn't good last year. It got better like in the SEC tournament, but it just wasn't good. And that was with Nate Yeskie, who I think we all kind of agree is one of the best pitching coaches in college baseball. Now, Nate Yeskie obviously moves on, and so they bring in Max Wiener, and maybe it's just a different voice in the dugout is needed. That happens sometimes, but the pitching is going to have to get a lot better than it was last year for them to be a true national title contender. So while I like the talent there, I am a little bit more skeptical on that side of the ball.
It's Joe Healey going to be with us every single Thursday throughout the baseball season. If you want a little preview on every SEC team, about 20 minutes. Highway to Hoover is churning them out. The LSU one was live a couple of days ago. You can find that over at Highway to Hoover, wherever you find your podcast. Joe, we'll talk next week right before opening day. Thanks, man.
All right, Hunt. Good to be back. Talk to you soon.
Joe Healey over there at D1 Baseball, part of the SEC Extra team. You're looking for some extra SEC baseball coverage. You can go over to D1 Baseball to the SEC Extra tab and get it all from Joe Healey and our friend Mark Etheridge. Appreciate him for stopping by. When we come back, big news from ESPN. We'll tell you about it next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading Ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This year, Dell Technologies wants to help you do amazing things with their best tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 13 Plus, powered by Intel Core processors, and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
Big game, the Super Bowl between the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs. You can hear it here this Sunday with a special edition of NFL Preview at 1 p.m. from Westwood One, then the scheduled kickoff at 5:30. Catch the game right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Your national champion LSU Tigers open the 2024 season Friday, February 16th, and we'll be broadcasting live from the box from 7 to 10. Off the bench will be live from Championship Plaza. Then join Hunt for a special edition of the Hunt Palmer Show from noon to 2. Come out to FanFest presented by Coca-Cola at noon and stay to welcome the Tigers as they take the field for the first time this season. It's opening day at the box with 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
I'm excited for that one. Going to be a lot of fun out at the box, Champions Plaza, noon to 2 next Friday. Hope to see y'all out there. And some of the least surprising news of the week thus far, ESPN, well, there were reports yesterday. I don't even know if ESPN said it, but there were reports yesterday that Nick Saban will join the College GameDay crew for next football season. And this is something that we all kind of thought was coming. Saban has said since his retirement that he'd like to get into some television. He's done more television lately. He did the Pat McAfee show every week this year. Generally speaking, when Alabama was not involved in some big games, whether it's the SEC championship game or a playoff games, he'd pop up there on the desk and kind of give some insights. And I don't think we fully have gotten the Nick Saban broadcast personality yet. Because when you're still at the top of the sport and you're competing for championships, you can't really say everything you want to say as a football analyst. You can't say how you're going to attack Georgia if you might play Georgia in a big game next year. That can't be on tape. So he had to probably play the cards a little closer to vest than you would generally as an analyst because you're still very much in the middle of it. And that's got to be where Nick Saban's most valuable insight comes, with X's and O's on the field and handling situations within a team. You're not getting Nick Saban for the massive entertainment value or the personality, the comedic relief. He's not going to be McAfee or Prime Corso. He's got to be the voice of reason and expertise. And he can't fully be that while he's still coaching in Alabama. So the question is, what is his role and how good is it? I personally, as Joe football fan, would love it if he got up on the teleprompter and rolled me through 5 or 6 plays of the Tennessee offense or the Georgia defense and talk about how you should defend this and what player made a mistake here, what player made an excellent play here, and what there was trying to be accomplished. I remember on one of the shows, whether it was SEC Inside or something, they talked about the Jaden Daniels rollout to Mason Taylor 2-point conversion to win that game in 2022, and Saban broke down the responsibility of every player and why they were in that defensive call. That, to me, Joe football fan, was riveting. Again, you're not going to do that very often with another team if you might run into them. Now that Saban knows that possibility doesn't exist, that's where I want him. I don't necessarily care who he picks in the Purdue-Minnesota game. I don't really care about that. I don't expect a lot of juice and energy from him. I still expect him to be his reserved and analytical self. But if you can give me X's and O's stuff on the telestrator that greatly enhances the game, That's what I want to see. And so hopefully that's the role that they put him in. They've been kind of a rotating desk up there. Reese Davis is consistent. Herb Street's consistent. And you've got Desmond Howard. You got Horso in there a little bit. They've rotated Pollock out. And so everybody kind of gets their segment of the show. When I thought about Saban on TV 10 years ago, I thought, that jerk and grump and guy that hates the media, like that doesn't sound very good. But he has mellowed over the last 4 years. There's no doubt about that. And I think was the most mellow we've seen him this year, especially going on Pat McAfee's show every week. So I'm hopeful that it's really good. I'm a big game day watcher. I love kind of setting the mood for Saturday with some breakfast and watching game day. And like I said right when he retired, like I don't hold a ton of that animosity that I've had for the last 17 years now that it's over. And so I'm hopeful that he improves the show. I think there's a real chance he does. I'm just curious what roles the producers and content creators kind of put him in and the resources behind it and how quickly he can kind of pick up on that, because it's a little bit of a different deal for somebody who's never done it. So I think it's a great idea by Game Day. I'm curious to see what the execution looks like of getting him up there on that set. So that'll do it here for hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Rouse's. Lots to get to in hour number 2. When we come back after Sports Center, Brian Kelly addressed the media yesterday. We'll hear from him, and Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, in 15 minutes.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The NBA trade deadline just passed. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reporting a number of deals today, including the Knicks get Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks in a trade with the Pistons. Detroit gets 4 players and 2 future second-round picks in that deal. ESPN's Chiney Agwumuke.
This is what we've been waiting for. This is what the NBA has been waiting for, and what we're witnessing right now is the rebirth of the Knicks in real time.
Chiney Agwumuke on NBA Today. Woj also reports the Bucks will get Patrick Beverley from the 76ers. Philadelphia gets Cameron Payne and a future second-round pick. The Thunder get Gordon Hayward in a deal with the Hornets. Charlotte gets 3 players in return. The World Series champ Rangers will sign ALCS MVP Adolis Garcia to a 2-year, $14 million contract pending a physical, avoiding arbitration. And Rays manager Kevin Cash gets a contract extension, as does team president Eric Neander.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Friday. I'll tell you the one Chiefs player no one is talking about, not named Patrick Mahomes, that will have the biggest impact on the game. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Hunt Palmer Show on this Thursday, presented by Rouse's. Working towards the weekend. Going to be a fun weekend in South Louisiana if the weather will cooperate. Mardi Gras parades all over the place. I'll be enjoying some of those uptown in New Orleans. It's the last weekend without some baseball. If you're craving some baseball talk, we had some back in hour number 1 with Joe Healey of D1 Baseball's SEC Extra team. You can catch that on demand wherever you find your on-demand stuff. But we'll transition to football here as we start hour number 2. Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday. Generally speaking, that would have been a huge signing day, crescendo press conference talking about the entirety of the class, but there wasn't a lot of action yesterday. LSU missed out on Terry Bussey and did have the signature of Dominic McKinley, and that's where Brian Kelly started yesterday, talking about the number 1 player in the state deciding to stay home.
He happens to be the top player in the state of Louisiana, so we wanted to give him the due respect. Dominic McKinley out of Acadiana High School signed with us this morning, and we're excited about him, a consensus 5-star defensive lineman, ranked 13th nationally. I think that's 8 out of the top 12 of the top 15 players in the state of Louisiana that we're able to sign in this class, and certainly adding Dominic to this class really tops it off for us.
And obviously it does. I'm excited about the addition of Dominic McKinley. His tape is very good, and he's been thought of as a 5-star prospect by multiple outlets for a lot of his recruitment. But what he did in the All-American games and the practice tape that he put out in those games, the dominance he displayed against some of the best players in his high school class was very, very exciting. And even though there is a movement of basketball and grass and everybody spreading the field and throwing the football a lot, there's still just a ton of value in winning the line of scrimmage. There's a huge premium put on that. And LSU's in great in shape to do that on the offensive side for the next coming years. They're in a little bit of a pickle as far as the defensive line situation on campus right now. I think you were thinking that you may get Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo back. And if you got both of those guys back, you'd be in pretty good shape. Not great, but pretty good shape. Losing those two guys puts you in a really precarious situation. So Brian Kelly talked about loving having some defensive linemen, but they're still recruiting.
Well, I love our young players. I mean, Gabe Relaford, obviously. We talked about McKinley, certainly Demarius. I mean, we've got young, talented players. Ahmad Bro. We're going to be in a really good situation. We've got edge players. And so that, to me, is an area that we're going to have to get more depth in the inside, the interior, in the shade, and the 3 technique. We're still recruiting, and we'll continue to do that.
Question is, you can only recruit at certain points and sign players at certain points. You're done on the high school level at this point. There will be another transfer portal opening here coming up after spring practice wraps up. But that's, again, after spring practice wraps up. So the question is, are there some offensive linemen that you may be able to move over that can give you some quality reps on defense?
Yeah, I think we've looked at a couple of guys that we're going to probably move. I don't want to announce them right now, but we're certainly going to move a couple of guys over to the defensive side of the ball to create a more competitive situation for us, especially, when we're talking about O-line going against the defensive line. So we want to create that. So I'd like to get these guys a little bit more time moving around, and we get into some of our OTA work later in the month, and then we'll get a chance to see them move, and then we'll be able to know for sure that they can handle the change in position. But yes, you can expect some movement there.
I think and again, I'm not an expert in this area. This is just kind of the way that I feel about this. You want to move somebody from nickel back to safety, just give them a spring, give them some reps, and I think you figure that out. You want to move a linebacker down to an edge rusher, they fill out a little bit and give them a little bit of a different responsibility. That makes a lot of sense. You've got somebody that you've played a little bit at fullback, and you want to line them up over there at tight end, maybe, if they've got some side. Like, that doesn't terrify me at all. You start taking offensive linemen and moving them to play defensive line, it reeks of desperation. They are a little bit desperate. And I'm just curious how much you can realistically expect someone who you recruited as an offensive lineman, who's been working at offensive line, to go give you championship level reps on the defensive line. I'm not suggesting it's impossible. It's not impossible. Marcus Spears was recruited at a tight end. He was pretty good on the defensive end. Okay. You played Michael Clayton at safety some in the bowl game against Texas. Some guys are just really good athletes and can make things happen on the other side of the ball. But it's a desperation move, and it's one that doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. It will certainly be something that we monitor immediately when we get out there for the fall. What players have literally switched sides of the ball to try to help. It's a short list. You can find an LSU history of guys who have changed sides of the football and really become strong players. But you're hopeful that they can find a way to figure that out. Kelly continued and kind of talked about remaining needs on this roster.
We still have some needs. The defensive tackle position is one that we're still vetting, that we have some needs that we'll continue to look at moving forward, going into the spring. But again, excited about Dominic McKinley and his addition today. And then moving forward, we've got a 7-day window here in the signing period. We could have some other movement here.
Which is interesting. I had not considered any extra movement in terms of players that LSU may be targeting. I have not seen any names. I have not seen any reports. I'm over there hanging out with the guys on the Bengal Tiger with Shea Dixon, Billy Embody, and if Brian Kelly is alluding to that, potentially there is something. If they can find a body that is capable of playing in the SEC in this little window, that'd be fantastic. I just haven't seen that name. So he continued on and talked about the approach in the transfer portal.
We looked at it from a perspective of fit and need, but fit first. And as I've said to you before, I think it's, for us, we're going to develop and build this program with high school players and then be very strategic with the portal. It's no coincidence that 4 out of the 6 players are from the state of Louisiana and have ties to the state of Louisiana, 2 from Baton Rouge out of U High, 2 from New Orleans and John Ehret and Warren Easton High School, and then 2 that are established players from the SEC.
So that's going to be Brian Kelly's ideal path here. It's something we've talked about. He's going to sign a ton of high school kids every year, and they're going to supplement in the portal. They're not going to play this Lane Kiffin game. And Ole Miss traditionally has not had a lot of success recruiting high 4 and 5-star players. Hugh Freeze had a little bit of a run there where they got a few, but Lane Kiffin has not had that kind of success with those type of players. So if you're looking for really, really high-end players, you may have to get them as 21, 22-year-olds that have got 3 years of college experience under their belt and can play. I think that LSU is in a position where leaning on high schoolers more, it's just a better way to go about it for LSU. You understand that if you sign 28 high schoolers, 14 of them might transfer out. That's just a risk you're going to run. That's not necessarily happening a ton at Georgia, but it happens a lot of places. It certainly did at A&M. It certainly did for this class with a new coaching staff at Alabama. We've seen it. But you got to continue to bring in as many as you can, and then you figure out what your needs are and try to address them as quickly as you can. That's the way that I see it. And Brian Kelly kind of wrapped up this kind of segment of it, talking about why he feels that way.
We had a huge need last year. There were issues relative to numbers within our program where we had to go into the transfer portal just to field the roster, from a defensive perspective. And, that's not sustainable. What's sustainable is player development, retention, and you do that through building relationships with your players that are here because they want to be at LSU. For me, I think the business plan has been all along to pull our base here in the state of Louisiana, develop the high school player, and then by doing so, you develop a relationship and a trust and an allegiance to the young man that's in your program. That doesn't mean you don't use the transfer portal. I think you've got to be strategic in it, and you've got to be in it when you need it.
Again, I think that's the best way to go about it. I do disagree that it's not sustainable to continue to rely really, really heavily on the transfer portal. While I'm not advocating it, I think you can do it. I think there are enough players in the transfer portal every single year where if you want to go get 20 a year, you can do it. Do I think it's the best way? No. Do I think it's going to be really volatile if you do that? Yes, because you're consistently bringing guys in for 1 year and they're gone, 1 year and they're gone, 1 year and they're gone. So sometimes you're going to hit on those guys like LSU did in the secondary 2 years ago, and some years you're going to whiff on them, and that's what we saw with LSU in the secondary this past year. But you can do it. And I think sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. I just think it's a better idea to try to lean heavily on high school kids, which you can do in this state at this program, and that's clearly what Brian Kelly is shooting for at this point. So that's some thoughts from Brian Kelly yesterday on his roster management as it pertains to LSU football. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, Chris Blair was in Knoxville last night calling LSU's loss to the Vols. He'll join us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet is now live in our state of Louisiana. It was the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet's the only place you can find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. Just listen to this. This is free money, literally, that I'm giving you. Sign up today on ESPN Bet. You get $100 in bonus bets for making one sportsbook bet. I told you, I put $10 in my account, bet one basketball game, it won. I cashed out the $12.50 that I won, and I had $100 to play with that I've all put on the Super Bowl on some pretty long odds stuff that could net some cash. You can do that right there on ESPN Bets. You can find all your favorite markets and bets, in-game wagering. If you see a trend, you want to get in on the action in the game, you can do that on ESPN Bet, cross-sport parlays, teasers, and all the props you can handle, and we know what Sunday is like for some prop bets. That's ESPN Bet. You can download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBair's Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade, time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me, like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We'll recap LSU, Tennessee, and Pels Clippers on the hardwood, and more of what Brian Kelly had to say wrapping up National Signing Day. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to our friends over at Rouse's. Download the Rouse's app. Don't have time to run in the store. Got time to do the shopping right there on the app. Your personal shopper will go inside. Well, bring it right out to you curbside. Spend $35 or more. Not an extra cent on the curbside pickup. Makes things so convenient. I like to do my shopping inside Rouse's because it's clean and got a great selection, and I enjoy my time there. But if you're pinched for time and want to go ahead and download the app, do your shopping there. Good time saver. A lot of convenience there for our friends at Rouse's. I'll be there tomorrow, Florida Boulevard location from 3 to 5, hanging out on a Friday afternoon. Hope to see you there. Shout out to Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us every Thursday. Joins us now. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. The sun did come up.
It did?
It's not super clear, but there is a sun in the sky, so that's a good thing.
How's the atmosphere in Thompson Bowling compared to the others around the SEC?
You know, right now it's a pretty good atmosphere. They had the building filled up last night. I mean, it helps when you're, as good as they are, and number 6 in the country, and they come off 103 points hung on Kentucky at Rupp Arena, which you've done something if you've done that. And I was talking to Coach Brady last night. There were a couple of years when he was coaching at LSU that place was rather cavernous. So they've had their woe years, so to speak, not having it this year, and frankly, really haven't had it under Rick Barnes over the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, they've been really, really good from November to March under Rick Barnes, and then they just haven't quite had that one team that can break through. We'll see if this is it. They certainly put it on LSU by 20 last night. It's just a tough start for LSU. All of a sudden, you look up and you're down 15-1. It's just hard to fight your way back into a top 10 team after that happens.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of expect that at home they're going to be juiced up. You kind of got to expect to get runs, although I think 13-0 was way more than anybody in purple and gold were anticipating. Again, it's pretty easy. You just have to look at the stat line. 7 turnovers real quick there in the first half, and that's exactly what Tennessee thrives on. I mean, a team like the Vols, who are known for their defense, this is a team that really thrives on running up and down the floor, transition threes, getting to the rim. And, when you break down last night's shot chart, you look at the percentage Tennessee shot in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock versus the last 10 seconds. And LSU had success defensively when they forced Tennessee to really work the half court. Unfortunately, when you have 16 turnovers, you don't get to do that a lot. And you allow them to shoot quickly and move quickly. And then the fact that they're just such a veteran team. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I looked it up before we left for Knoxville. This is the starting 5 for Tennessee that has over 400 career games and almost 400 career starts. And 4 of those are all under Rick Barnes at Tennessee. I mean, not only do they have veteran players, they have veteran players in the program. And then you throw a guy like Dalton Knecht, who right now has got my vote for SEC Player of the Year. He makes it almost 500 career games. That's a competitive advantage for a program like Tennessee. Not only does he have veteran players, because you hear every coach in the country saying they want to go to the portal to get a more veteran team. Rick Barnes has got a veteran team, and he's had them under his program, his consistency for 3 and 4 years. And that's why I think, for my money, they're certainly number 6, if not higher, in the country.
Yeah, I looked it up yesterday before the game. Santiago Vescovi started 132 games. Josiah Jordan-James, 109 games. Jonas Adu and Zakai Ziegler have both played in over 75 games at Tennessee. So they're just remarkably old, and that's just very rare this day and age in college basketball to have guys in your program that long, and they certainly showed it last night. Will Baker's played a lot of college basketball games, just not a lot of them in purple and gold. He backed up a really strong game on Saturday with 16 points and 8 boards last night, which was one of the few real encouraging things for me about the game last night.
Yeah, it was one of the few silver linings because, coming off the 25-point performance at Arkansas where he was, incredible, shooting 80% from the field, you don't really need that. I mean, that's great. You'll take it. But you're looking for more of that 12, 14, 16, 18, 6, 7, 8 rebounds. If you're able to get that night in and night out from Will Baker, I think LSU is going to be in a pretty good spot. Now, last night he does perform. Problem was you were without a 16-point per game average Jalen Cook, who we found out just minutes before tip-off was not going to be able to go. And then Jordan Wright, he snapped an 18-game double-figure scoring streak last night in single digits. And if you look at his last 3 games, there's something different. I know he was a little under the weather going into the Arkansas game, as several players were, as far as illness. But there's something different because he got 10 points against Alabama. He got 13 points late against Arkansas, and then was unable to reach double digits. So when you don't have Jalen Cook, which again I don't think he automatically wins that game for LSU. Don't get me wrong, but I think his play helped improve Mike Williams' play as freshman. I think you saw Jordan Wright start to uptick offensively when Cook entered the fray. And I think last night LSU found themselves against a high-powered offense, a very good defense, and they were looking around to see who's the guy that's going to score for us. And they were without some of their critical scorers.
No question about it. But quite honestly, for me, as I'm looking at this, if you're going to tell me in one of the last 10 games that Cook wouldn't play and Wright would go 3 for 16, I'd probably just pick the Tennessee one. I don't want that happening at Vanderbilt. I don't want that happening against Arkansas or even against Missouri, because those are obviously very, very winnable games for LSU, and they're going to have trouble winning in Knoxville. So we'll see. This is a brutal stretch for the Tigers as they come home to face Alabama. You saw LSU against the Tide in Tuscaloosa. Great on offense, very poor on defense. What needs to change on Saturday?
Well, you have to have maybe Alabama have a rough shooting night. I mean, I think that helps every team that plays Alabama, and certainly I think benefited Auburn, taking nothing away from what they did defensively, because Alabama is going to do what they do. Doesn't matter who the opponent is, doesn't matter what the score is early, doesn't matter if they lead big late in the game. They're going to do what they do. And when they make shots, they're as tough as anybody in the country to play. When they miss shots, they're not very good because they're not able to create offense when their shot is not falling. So I think that's where you start Saturday. And again, I think we saw what happened in Tuscaloosa. They played within 6 at the half. They were able to match them when Alabama would go on their patented runs. Then in the second half, the turnovers and bad shots, quick possessions, long shots, long rebounds, and suddenly Alabama is able to play the game they want to play, which is much like Tennessee's, oddly enough, is that they want to shoot the ball quick in the shot clock, and they get in rhythm like that. If you make them work half court, use 20 or 25 seconds of the shot clock, the longer you make them work on offense, the better off they're going to take a contested or a bad look. And we saw it last night against Tennessee. We saw it in that comeback effort at Auburn. And we saw it in the first half and a little bit in the second half against Alabama. To me, that's the recipe. You can't turn the ball over 16, 18 times and expect to beat anybody in SEC play, much less the top echelon of the league.
We've heard Matt McMahon talk about how he thinks his team's at their best offensively when they're moving quickly and playing in some space. However, we heard him talk after the Bama game that we've got to try to control the tempo. What tempo do you think LSU tries to play at offensively? You can only do what you can do on defense, but offensively on Saturday, do they try to run a bunch of clock?
You know, I think when he talks like that, and I've had a lot of conversations with him at practice, on his coach's show, and then obviously after games, I mean, I think he wants to run at a quick pace in the sense that there's a lot of movement off the ball, there's a lot of ball movement. And when LSU does that, again, it sounds so simple, but when they get side-to-side ball movement, they're making the defense work side to side. You've got some pretty good shooters when they're not forcing shots and they're not trying to make shots off the dribble. And again, I think you can still use 20 seconds of a shot clock and still work at a very good pace. That's a lot of ball movement. You know, he mentioned to me last night after the game in the second half, even when they climbed within 8, suddenly they went right back to doing a lot of dribbling, a lot of standing around, guys trying to go from the top of the key to dribble down into the lane. And good defensive teams and talented teams, that's just not going to work. And I looked at Tennessee last night, 31 made buckets, they had 23 assists. That's not a lot of dribbling. That's a lot of ball movement and passing the ball. And LSU came away, I think, with 6 or 7 assists. And, you know, when they're playing their best, I don't know that there's a pace or tempo as much as there's a style that has been successful for LSU against really good teams this year. And when it's bring the ball down, 1 pass, 1 shot, or bring the ball down, no pass, 1 shot, look out. That's when teams have been able to take advantage.
I wanted your perspective on this as we totally change gears. As someone who's been in broadcasting a long time and has talked to a lot of coaches, both on and off the record and in podcast form, how do you think Nick Saban's addition to GameDay is going to go?
You know, I think it'll be good because I think you've seen over the years, especially here of late, he's got the dry sense of humor. And I think most people I know that knew him close, and there's not a bunch of those, find that he is a pretty engaging character. But he's always, you know, when he's head coach of Alabama, and he's got the wall up. You know, I saw the announcement yesterday, and I thought he would be a great addition because, again, I think he can probably say some things that other people might say that really don't have the resume to do so. And I think he'll be one of those guys that when he makes a statement, people are going to go, you know what, I don't know if he's right, but I'm going to listen to it and I'm going to respect it because he's won a lot of football games. So will he be the most engaging character? I don't know. Maybe he'll get some help from some talent scouts on how to be more engaging on air. But I think as far as content's involved, if you want to learn and talk and listen about football, I think he's a good addition to the cast.
No doubt about it. I'm now that he doesn't have an agenda, I'm hopeful that it's just really informative stuff. So I'm looking forward to it and curious to see how it pans out. Chris, we'll see you in the PMAC on Saturday. Thanks.
All righty. See you.
Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, was in Knoxville last night. LSU and Alabama from the PMAC coming up on Friday. You can hear he and John Brady on the call coming up on Eagle 98.1 on Saturday. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit of baseball from a pitching perspective. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I know a ton of people who were just very, very comfortable in the interest rate they refinanced to 2 to 3 years ago, but could use a little bit of a facelift. Well, how about a brand new customized bathroom? How about a brand new closet? They can do things you may not even know they're capable of, but you won't know unless you go to OneBathAndClosets.com and request that free consultation. David Duvall and his team will come over. They'll go through a questionnaire with you, kind of talk you through what things could look like, what possibilities they have, and they can discuss financing options with you as well. Give them a try. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. You can see pictures of their great work, which are phenomenal, by the way, and you can see testimonies of their satisfied clients. They promise this. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Not a second, third visit. If something doesn't quite work right, nope, not at One Bath and Closets. They'll get you fixed up the first time. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
On Friday's OTB, the big weekend of the big game. Give you a final breakdown of the Super Bowl. How did softball fare in their opener? And some champagne shenanigans. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
As the gladiators of the gridiron battle it out for football's biggest prize, you'll be battling it out for one of radio's biggest prizes. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Big Game Contest, where you could win $50,000 in cash if your name is drawn from the pot and you've correctly guessed the final score of the game. Get your score guesses in now at 1045ESPN.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Earlier today, Musso and I spent just about an hour chopping up the LSU baseball roster. The last 2 years we have done this and posted on YouTube an extended preview of the LSU baseball roster. A couple folks have tweeted and asked if we had plans to do that again. We did it today, so we're going to get that thing edited and posted. Potentially tomorrow is the goal to have that thing up, and so you'll have a week to get to it before they open things up at the box at 2 o'clock next Friday. So I enjoyed the conversation with Musso. We kicked it around a good bit. We went all the way around the diamond, talked offense, talked defense, talked pitching as well. So looking for a big preview of this LSU baseball team. We got it coming for you on YouTube on the 104.5 ESPN channel. Musso, incidentally, has got his podcast up each and every day, Musso at the Box, and I've been mixing in baseball just about every day at this point, and we'll do so right now. As I was thinking about this team, big picture, not looking dead at a stat sheet or at a roster, not, just kind of going through guys in my head from a relief pitching standpoint, I was like, good grief, this is a left-handed bullpen. I mean, so heavily skewed left-handed. So I thought, all right, well, let's just go put it pen to paper and let's see what it is. And so for this exercise, I took Thatcher Hurd out, I took Luke Holman out, and I took Gage Jump out. I believe those are the top three pitchers. Now, LSU plays Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the first, and I use air quotes, weekend. So depending on how Jay wants to shuffle guys around, like somebody's got to start a fourth game, and I don't know when in necessarily what order those guys will pitch. But I feel like those three guys are going to be starting pitchers, and so I took them out of this bullpen discussion. For the purpose of this discussion as well, I'm going to remove Chase Shores. Chase Shores tore his UCL and had Tommy John surgery in the middle of last season. He's not going to pitch this year. I would be stunned if he threw a pitch for LSU. You're talking about a precocious young talent who's 6'7", can throw 98 miles an hour, and very much profiles as a top-of-the-rotation type pitcher next season and a big-time major league draft pitcher. You can't jeopardize that trying to rush a guy back 13 months after Tommy John. That's not going to happen. Jaden Newt, I believe, is going to pitch this year. Now, as I sit here, I don't expect him to be a key cog in anything because that's too high an expectation to have on someone who's never thrown a collegiate pitch and won't have pitched for 2 years by the time he is ready to roll. So I'm not using Chase Shores or Jaden Newt in this discussion right now. If that's the case, LSU actually has the exact same number of left-handed available relievers as right-handed available relievers that I think could factor in. We'll start with the right-handers. Gavin Guidry, through the last pitch of the College World Series, burst onto the scene with a huge save against South Carolina. Has looked at two-way situations. I don't believe is going to be a hitter in LSU's program. He's going to be a high-leverage right-handed pitcher. Cade Woods made 17 appearances for Alabama last year. He got hit around a little bit, but he struck a lot of guys out. In 29 1/3 innings, he had 38 strikeouts, which is very good. He also gave up 8 home runs. He walked 15 guys, gave up 23 hits. His ERA was 5.52 as a freshman at Alabama. There's big stuff there. He's, pitched in the SEC. I think he factors in as well. Then you go to some veterans on this roster that haven't exactly been stalwarts at the collegiate level. Christian Little, Sam Dutton, Will Helmers. All those guys are right-handed, but I don't know if they're high-leverage guys at this point in their career. Then you add in Aiden Moffitt, who's throwing 99 miles an hour, but not necessarily throwing a ton of strikes at this point. And Micah Bucknam, who they think a lot of, but has been hit around a little bit in the preseason practices thus far. Then you've got Fidel Ulloa. Fidel Ulloa, JUCO right-hander, big stuff, big strikeout numbers in JUCO. I think he is a high-leverage guy. So if you look for me right now at high-leverage LSU right-handed relievers, I've got Gavin Guidry, Cade Woods, and Fidel Ulloa, it's probably 3. I don't feel quite that way about Christian Little, Aiden Moffett, Sam Dutton, Will Helmers, Micah Bucknam. So it's basically 3, but your total there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is 8 guys. So let's go to the left side. Griffin Herring, yep. Nate Ackenhausen, yep. Justin Lohr, big-time closer for Xavier. I don't know if he's a closer on this team, but a left-handed high-leverage guy, absolutely. That's 3. Javen Coleman has thrown the ball really well in the preseason. His fastball's back into the low to mid-90s. I think it's realistic to think he can pitch some big-time innings from the left side. That's 4 for sure, and I haven't mentioned Cam Johnson, who we think has all the upside in the world to be a high-leverage pitcher, especially when you don't have to saddle him with being the Friday guy or the Saturday guy. Just give me some outs. It may be 2 outs, it may be 5 outs, whatever the case may be. You throw 94, 95 miles an hour, big physical body, good breaking ball. Okay, that would be your 4th. And then you've got Cade Anderson, Nick Bronzini, and DJ Primo, who I don't know are high leverage guys, but they're certainly left-handed, and they think a lot of Cade Anderson and what he could eventually be. So you actually have the same number from either side. I just have a little bit more confidence in the left-handed pitchers. You give me Griffin Herring, Nate Ackenhausen, Justin Lohr, and Cam Johnson and Javen Coleman, those 5 guys. And then I look at my 5 best righties, and it's probably Gavin Guidry, Cade Woods, Fidel Ulloa, and Sam Dutton. Maybe Will Helmers. Moral of the story here, and kind of putting a bow on this entire thought process, is it's not quite as skewed left-handed as I thought because the numbers are pretty even. You do have some right-handers that hopefully can be big-time guys for you, but you're really good from the left side. And I think when you look at this bullpen, you see how deep it is, because if you take the guys that I feel good about in high leverage, which is Herring, Ackenhausen, Lohr, Johnson, Coleman, Guidry, Woods, Ulloa, that's 8 guys. LSU has not had close to 8 guys you felt good about in the bullpen in the Maneri, in the Jay Johnson era. You basically in year 1 had Gervais and Reiselman, and that was your guys, maybe Riley Cooper. And last year, for most of the season, you had nobody that you could really count on after Garrett Edwards got hurt. And then eventually Cooper figured it out, and Ackenhausen figured it out, and Herring came on, and Guidry emerged, and you had 5 or 6 guys that would give you outside of the bullpen. You didn't have a third starter. So with this many guys in the bullpen, I don't need a Paul Skeens. I'd like a Paul Skeens, but I don't need Thatcher Hurd to be Paul Skeens. If you give me 5 2/3 of very good baseball and tell me that I've now got to get 3 1/3, I can use 2 or 3 of these guys and still have 5 left the next day that haven't pitched. So once again, I don't need Luke Holman or Gage Jump to go 8 innings. It doesn't have to be Poche and Lang and Walker churning through innings. Now, it might be because Hurd's really good and Holman's good, and I think Jump's going to be really, really good. But we're not going to ask for as many innings to be eaten up by the starting pitching. Last year, if you entered a weekend or a regional or whatever, and Paul Skeens got rained out or something, or got knocked around, which never happened, and had to leave in the 4th inning, you'd be petrified as to what you were going to do to finish the rest of the innings. You were dependent on him going 7, 8, 9 innings to make the outs work because you were so thin in the bullpen. Not this time. The starting pitchers, if they want to go out there and dominate for 8 innings, I'm not going to turn them down. But you've got some guys to go to if those guys are done after 5 1/3, 5 2/3, 6 innings. It's a different situation. We'll get to the bats as we move forward into next week. We probably won't talk much baseball tomorrow because got basketball to get ready for. We got the Super Bowl coming up, so not going to do a ton of baseball. But once we get into game week next week, you can better believe it. We're going to be doing a lot of baseball, getting ready for LSU and VMI on Friday from the box. I feel great about LSU's pitching staff, the starting rotation, and the bullpen. I've got my trepidations about the lineup at this point. Not fears, but trepidation, I think I would put it as. We'll talk a little bit about that moving forward. Take one more time out when we come back, take it or leave it, and we'll be done on a Thursday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Look, Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have owned Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They are certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac dealer. Give them a call. It's 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. You give them a call, say, hey, we need to get a generator at my home or my business. They come out, they assess the situation. How many square feet do you have? What do we need powered in the event of a power failure? Maybe it's the whole house or the whole building. Maybe it's not. Maybe you just need the AC working, make sure the fridge and freezer are working. How about we throw us a TV as well? That's the case. You may need one generator or another. But what I can tell you is they're going to come out with a full-time Boudreaux's Electric employee. They're going to use the finest copper and tubing, and they're going to install the vast majority of that generator underground so that it looks nice and you can take pride in the way your home looks. Plus, you're protected from power outages, which is the most important thing. They happen down here a lot. Give them a call, 225-300-9389. That's my friends over at Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other.
Big game, the Super Bowl between the San Francisco 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs. You can hear it here this Sunday with a special edition of NFL Preview at 1 p.m. from Westwood One, then the scheduled kickoff at 5:30. Catch the game right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
You got a crew coming over to watch the Super Bowl on Sunday. Need to do some grocery shopping for it. Head over to Rouse's. Got fantastic deals. Get some steaks. Got them right there in the back All the butcher shops got great ribeyes, great fillets. Doing something a little lighter, maybe chicken, burgers, all your chips and dips, sandwich trays, king cakes. They got them at Rouse's by the truckload, by the way. If you want a king cake, appreciate Rouse's for bringing you our Thursday shows. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. A&M head coach Mike Elko said yesterday at his signing day press conference that we are the flagship school in the state. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that one. There's just not much to suggest that Texas A&M is the flagship school of the state. That's in Austin. It's the biggest brand in the state. A&M's got a lot of money, a lot of tradition, a lot of pride, and a lot of that I think is admirable, if not weird, but admirable. But they're not the flagship of the state. They could be the best football program in the state at a given point, not currently, but at a given point. And I understand that you're endearing yourself to the masses, but it doesn't make it any more true, Coach Elko. You're a little brother until proven otherwise.
Former Lady Tiger point guard Alexis Morris is set to become the 7th female member of the Harlem Globetrotters. Take it or leave it.
That's awesome. Take it. I don't know what the popularity of the Harlem Globetrotters is at this point. I know they were absolutely massive in 70s and 80s, and I remember going in the late 90s to see the Harlem Globetrotters up in Shreveport. I actually got called out of the stands to go shoot a free throw.
Whoa!
Did not make the free throw. Got a prize bag, but consolation prizes and whatnot.
I thought you didn't miss free throws, huh?
No, I'm a bad free throw shooter.
Oh, okay.
I was the high school point guard, starting point guard. I think I shot like 58%.
Whoa.
I think my junior year I shot like 70%, but my senior year was real bad. It might have been like 54%. It was quite poor. I remember one time, other team got a technical, and I begged the coach to let me shoot him, and I felt like I was like 0 for 5 in the game, and he let me shoot him, and I missed them both. So yeah, not a great free throw shooter, and certainly not going to be on the Harlem Globetrotters. Look, Alexis Morris was awesome last year. An interesting college story where she goes to Baylor, there was a transfer out, rejoins Kim Mulkey, and while the first half like barrage of threes is like the lasting memory from that national championship game, I do go back to Alexis Morris flattening the floor out in the last like 5 minutes when they had a 12, 15-point lead, whatever it was, and just continuing to win off the dribble and hit bucket after bucket and not let Iowa get back into the game. I thought she was the closer in that game and was fantastic. This is a very, very cool step for her.
I'm kind of surprised she didn't make it in professional basketball.
Look, pros is tough in every sport. And, if the Harlem Globetrotters will pay you some cash to go have some fun, see the country and see the world and play basketball, good on you, Alexis Morris. Hope that works out.
All right, next one here. We have 30-year-old Korn Ferry Tour player Cristobal del Solar.
Ooh, I saw this.
Shot the lowest score in a PGA Tour sanctioned event ever with a 13 under 57 today at the Astara Golf Championship in Colombia. 57 and 18 holes. Take it or leave it.
What you haven't included in that is that he had 10 feet for a 56.
Okay, I didn't know
seen
that.
The tap in. Like, it was not, he didn't have like 35, 40 feet. Like, he was in there with a very makeable putt for 56. I don't know anything about this Astara Golf Championship or where it's played.
It's a Korn Ferry Tour event.
I don't care. I would struggle to take a putter and a Pro V1 and go to Celebration Station and shoot a 57 on 18 holes. Like, that is unbelievable golf. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look and see if he holed out a couple of times or something.
He had an eagle, eagle 2 on a par 4 on the 9th hole. I'm not sure if it was.
That helps.
I'm not sure if it was a long shot or not, but it was an eagle 2. So
well, that's remarkable. It just shows how freakishly good these guys are.
And then this guy is on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's not.
Yeah.
He shot 57, but he's still on the Korn Ferry Tour.
And like, I've played recreational weekend golf with a lot of like scratch golfers that are just exceptional weekend golfers who absolutely on a given Saturday can go out there and shoot 68, 69. Like, I've played with a number of those people, and I've also seen these guys play, whether it's at the Zurich at my where I played golf growing up. They had a tour, a Nike tour event, and it's just a different world. And to look at what some of these guys can do that aren't. I mean, the odds are Cristobal del Solar never plays a PGA Tour
not,
event. That's the odds. But he can still shoot 57, and that's not like with gimmies and a breakfast ball in the first hole. Like, that's just a 57. That's freakish.
All right, last one here. The Pelicans were quiet at the trade deadline, sticking with this core. Take it or leave it.
I'm fine with it. I'll take it. Like there were some rumors that they were looking at Atlanta for DeJounte Murray, maybe send Valanciunas and
Herb Jones,
but apparently the Pels don't want to part with Herb. Like they played great last night. Got a huge win out in LA. I was asked on Twitter if I stayed up for it. Absolutely not.
I did actually.
I did not stay up for it. But look, I saw the box score and the highlights. That's a great win. They have done something this year they had not done previously. They've been good the whole way. They've had a couple of bad weeks here and there, and that's just part of playing 82. But they've been good the whole way. It hadn't been like hot streak, like it's just been consistently good. And so, do I think they're a threat to win the West? I don't. Do I think they're a good basketball team that can be a nuisance in a playoff series or two? Yeah, I do. I would love to see them add another star, but they were deciding they were going to commit to what they have. So we'll see how that shakes out over the next 3 months. That'll do it here for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Opened up the show talking Tigers and Vols from Knoxville last night. Luke Johnson talking Saints at 1:15. Joe Healey in his now weekly spot on Thursdays at 1:30 talking about the SEC in terms of baseball. Everybody starts up a week from tomorrow. Saban's on game day. I gave you my thoughts on that. Brian Kelly met with the media yesterday. We played some of that sound for you. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, at 2:15, and my musings on the LSU bullpen at 2:30. You can catch all of that wherever you find your on-demand sound, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever you find all that, or you can check us out on YouTube, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints, or the Hunt Palmer Show channels on YouTube. That's it for us today. We're back tomorrow, getting you ready for the Super Bowl in LSU and Alabama on the hardwood. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR next. Have a great Thursday. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit